In the UK, there have been 134 new cases, bringing the total to 590. US President Donald Trump announced a ban on travel from 26 European countries to America.
We will be denying entry to Canada to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents.
All the provinces, except one, have declared either a public health emergency or a state of emergency.
It really started organically. It was never like us being like, let's create this moment and like, let's create this viral space, because like they didn't exist before. We had nothing to like know. We didn't know people would want to party on Zoom, but it was us just wanting to like connect with each other as the friends we were before this. And then from there, adding a few more friends, and then taking it to Zoom so we could bring in more friends, and then making the Instagram, which was kind of humorous and like, you know, kind of jokey a little bit. And then people just started to flood, so we're like, oh, okay, yeah, Zoom can be a moment. Zoom can be a party. Who knew? Let's gay up Zoom. It's not just a space for people to enter because we're in the state we are. It's people who haven't been able to enter the club, or they feel like they've been aged out, or they feel like they're just not a part of it. It's just, we're entering this new level of nightlife, which I don't think anyone could have saw coming, because we've always seen it as a physical thing, right? It's bodies touching bodies, right? It's always been this very kind of like raw thing. It's just about entering spaces and being there and being in people's faces, fully out and fully queer.
Unapologetically queer.
Obviously, our goal is to uplift like marginalized communities and get people paid and to feel valued in the work that they do. It's a lot of time being spent, so we're also having to figure out, you know, how can we afford to keep it going, and you know, how to exist within these systems and try and
existing within these systems is a challenge. The fact that we're so bound by money to be able to make any moves is really kind of like one of our biggest obstacles. All the money that we've received has gone back out to the community, to all the artists, and just the operating costs. And we've had to bring on people as well to work for us as extra moderators, sound tech engineers, and an admin. Just because the four of us alone it's honestly impossible at this point. For the four of us alone to do this is impossible. And so we're already feeling so spread thin. I see like, you know, a full structure, and we can employ people all over the world to keep the party going in all time zones, and it'd be super, super sexy if we had, you know what I mean, that kind of money coming in to be able to keep this space open and going.
Rebecca Black playing her own song. Does it get better than that? I don't know.
The world needed to stop in order for this like moment to happen, which is a very wild thing, because like for the first time ever, nobody was doing anything.
Charlie baby, peace.
Icon.
Charlie XCX was the first big celeb that reached out to us.
That's been a favorite of mine, for sure.
That was been def a favorite.
It's such an equal space. It's like there's not performer and fans. It's like everyone is getting spotlighted. It's like you really are. It's an equal playing field. And like they might like fuck up right when they start, and then we have to jump on the mic in front of all of them, be like, no, you have to like hit share sound, and they're like, I don't know how to do it. Then they like do it, and then immediately their ego's gone, and they're just dancing with people, and then at the end they like message us and they're like, I want to come back and do it, right?
I'm gonna go live on Club Quarantine in a little bit, and shit's gonna get so fucking lit.
We don't know what this thing will look like tomorrow. Like, we don't know what
it's
it will
crazy.
look like. We don't know how it will look like tonight. And we don't know what the future of nightlife will look like. We don't know what the future of like society will look like, right? If it'll ever be the same, what it will be. We don't know. I'm sure it'll adapt into something new, just like it adapted to the quarantine. It will adapt to new life. It's, yeah, both exciting and both scary at the same time, yeah.
Our work started out just focusing on like visibility for queer and trans, specifically Black people, and has expanded beyond just like visibility and is really like evolved into like a community space or community itself. People have an expectation, they know the type of folks they're going to be surrounded by when they come to our spaces, and they know the level of like care and intention that's going to be put into it. It was a hard stop, and we were anticipating our biggest season ever. And the literal venue that we were working with closed down during the quarantine. Like, they weren't even able to survive. So it's all fucked up. The money is fucked up. Anything that we're doing right now is just like mostly volunteer led, with the support of like a few people who have like donated or like mutual aid funds or something like that. We've hosted several like online parties for our Joy Party that we do with DJ Remarkable. And people would have just been like craving being in community. So even like on those online events, like the chats are going crazy. People are making connections. Like there was, this is the funniest shit to me, but there was a literal Zoom after party that formed during the party. So people would be on these Zoom parties for 3 hours and then go to the after party for another 3 hours. And it would be like a little bit more risque and kind of like play party vibes and like kind of like the best high school party you've ever been to. Because it's like we're playing Truth or Dare and Never Have Ever and all this other shit in the chats while there's music playing.
My name is Marissa Rosa Grant, and I am the founder of Strapdteo. Strapdteo is a party that is focused on queer women and trans and non-binary folks of color. We try to create some kind of monthly party to kind of bring that crowd out and also have different themes. It's all about body positivity, it's all about having fun, it's all about elevating those voices and booking POC performers and DJs just to really show that we're here and we're queer as well.
Thank y'all so much for having this. This is like giving us life right now.
So I started to think of things that I would enjoy doing with groups of friends. Like I thought, okay, I would love to have a movie night. I'd love to do a games night. I'd love to do like a sleepover. All the ideas that I had that I wanted to do before all of this happened, I tried to figure out how to make them work in an online format. So yeah, we did workshops on using a strap-on. We've done yoga. We had tarot readings weekly. It's become way more accessible to parents especially, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback from other parents that they don't have to spend all this money to get a sitter. For me, it's only been in the last 2 years that I've started having my son go over to his grandparents on the weekend. So before it, I was missing out on everything. But I think this is going to be something that would carry on post-COVID. Like once things start opening up again, I think it's a great idea, not only for my party, but for parties everywhere to continue to be accessible through doing things on Zoom. I'd love to just be in the comfort of my own home, jamming out while my son's asleep. You know, like it's just this new world for us that still gives us that freedom and gives us that ability to feel involved while we're away.
Thank you so much for partying with us. Really
It was such a great night. The community motivates me. I'm always trying my best to find ways to help and serve the community. So when the protest for Regis came about, the organizer contacted me and was just like, I'm really afraid that I'm going to get arrested.
A massive demonstration on the streets of Toronto this afternoon. Thousands of protesters marching.
Back in May, Korchinski Paquette fell 24 stories from her balcony while multiple Toronto police officers were alone with her in her High Park apartment.
And I just thought, okay, let's use our platform, because we have quite a large following, use our platform to gain funds in case there is an arrest being made, or in case anyone going to this protest ends up in some kind of legal situation where they need funds and don't have access to funds. So we developed this Toronto Protester Bail Fund, which essentially would cover any fees associated with being part of the protest, or any legal fees that might be incurred. We couldn't believe how much we raised. Like, it went viral, and now we are in a place where we're able to help, and we're able to continue to help that community and make sure that our voice is heard. The best thing possible for us is just having that message out there. We want to be known around the world. We want to strap the world. Send that message out that we are Black, we are queer, we are here, and we want to create safe spaces, even virtually, for people of color to just be their complete self, no holding back, just showing love and appreciation for that community.
Hi there, my name's Ellie. You'll be following me doing some DJ sets for my online Zoom party, Quarantine Queens. I was super interested in this idea because I'd wanted to set up my own club night for so long. We have other online nightclubs like Queer House Party, which are great and do an amazing job as well. But there wasn't any spaces for people who identified as like either wholly or partially as femme or under another kind of gender non-conforming label. So especially in a quarantine, which is quite an oppressive period, it's super important that people have a space where they feel like, you know, they can just unwind, they can be themselves, and they're not going to get like misgendered or discriminated against. And because the majority of people who we attract are like either identify as like either trans feminine or like as a cis queer woman or non-binary femme. They've all been kind of like, there's been so many people who identify within those kind of marginalised identities. I know that they usually always raise concerns about clubbing due to kind of invasive bouncers, and people would ask like really intrusive questions, and I think because it's online there is less of that. So I think people do feel a bit more free to kind of just express themselves. We've had quite a lot of success because it is online and it is accessible. I feel like being very explicit about like a weekly club night which runs for queer women, gender non-conforming people, has been really good, because those club nights kind of only really usually come around about every once in 3 months, 4 months. So mainstream gay clubs which do run weekly club nights end up being quite inaccessible in a physical form. So I feel like kind of the continued success has been that, you know, it has been a weekly thing, it is really accessible, it's really, you know, safe. We go every Saturday from 9 PM British Standard Time, so if you're up at that time, make sure to tune in. It's been great to see so many people from so many different countries kind of come, because that just wouldn't happen in a physical club space, and access kind of new ideas, new kinds of music, see different kinds of performances that they wouldn't usually see, and access new spaces that they wouldn't physically have access to. And it's something that only this situation could have made possible. If this was a virtual club night happening in kind of normal non-corona times, I don't think that we would have had the same reception. I don't think people would have wanted to access it in the same way. This kind of space is needed in a brick and mortar form as much as it is in a virtual space. And I feel like the amount of kind of solidarity that has come out of a lot of the quarantine queens kind of shows that this needs to take place, because a lot of people have come on being like, oh, this is the only place where I can be myself, which is a great thing to come out. Something that I didn't expect, actually, because like there isn't really kind of like that respect for these spaces commercially.
Glad Day is the world's longest surviving LGBTQ bookshop. It was opened in 1970. It also functions as an event space. It's also a restaurant, a cafe. Obviously, all this is pre-COVID. Currently, we are doing a lot of our events and some new programming online. Before the COVID pandemic happened, it's no surprise to anybody that we were struggling financially because, like you said, the rent is incredibly high. It's hard for small businesses in general to survive anywhere in the city and in many cities around the world. So we know that we've seen a lot of disappearances of queer owned and operated businesses. When we found out that we had to close without any sort of governmental support, we launched the emergency fund, and that was to sort of combat what we knew then was to be a huge financial loss among our queer and trans community members. So things have been, hugely successful. Like the fundraiser has gone way better than we thought it would. And so we've been sort of able to coast on that, as well as provide paid opportunities for artists on our channel. This was sort of an idea. When all of this sort of happened, we decided to launch this channel to continue being able to host events that we had been doing in our physical space virtually. And also it's been an opportunity to create new programming, because there's a lot of members of our community who are immunocompromised. There's a lot of folks that don't live in the city that have been, because of this channel, able to connect with their community in ways that they weren't really able to before. So we're definitely going to continue using this platform for the foreseeable future. All I can say is that we have been here for 50 years and we aren't going anywhere. It might look differently than what people are used to, but we will always be here.
And when I moved here in Harlem, I realized very quickly that I didn't see one rainbow flags anywhere. And when I asked around, but where do gay people go? Well, sometimes on a Thursday there's a night at this bar. Very quickly, I found this gorgeous space, which is very New York. It's a step down. You understand, walk, and it's a step down, and it's not big, but it's not small. And it's heart of central Harlem. The people that come in are mainly LGBTQ people of color, and that was very important for us, because we are in a people of color neighborhood. To see people that look like you, that listen to the same music that you listen to, that have the same slang sometimes, they're already inside that space. It makes you feel, okay, well, you know what, I can go in and I'll feel welcome, and it's close to home. It happened pretty much overnight. On March 16th, the governor of New York sent us home and asked us to shut down our business. The truth is, yes, like many other small businesses in America, the reality of our future was very grim. Meanwhile, the very basic reality of owning a business are still there. I still have to pay for rent. I still have to pay for the sales tax. I still have to pay for the phone bills. I still have to pay for everything you get from the garbage company. I still have to pay everything you can imagine. It was just piling up, and there was no really clear ending or clean end to the story. We had no idea when we were going to reopen. And if we were going to reopen, were people going to come out of their homes to come to the bar? So it was. I decided to just give it up. You know, at that point, I thought, you know, it's too much. It's been a good run, but that's it. I can't do it anymore. But there's something inside all of us. I like to think, you know, when you're gay, when you're born gay, you're born with a certain resilience. You know, I think it's inside of all of us. And there's something where, you know, you can get beat down, and then there's always that thing that's gonna make you go back up, you know, and then you decide, like, no, it's not possible. I think it's too important. I think it's too important to the community. I had no idea what GoFundMe was. Then when my friend came and told me, because he had done it, he said, look, I've done it, and I got a little bit of help from the community. It was mind-blowing. Thanks to the funds that we have raised, I was able to pay off all the debts that Alibi had. One of the reasons I didn't want Alibi to fail, it's because I didn't want a young man or woman of color or transgender to see that, okay, I have aspirations to become a business owner, okay? I'm Black, I'm LGBT, I want to become a business owner. So what examples do I have to a business, you know, that have succeeded? They were Langston, they're closed. Secret, closed. Oh, and then Alibi, the last one, with all the hoopla around it, look, it's closed too. So, and then what do you think, what message do you think it sends to those kids? Well, you know, what's the point? Where, you know, it's gonna fail anyway. And that's what I didn't want. I really wanted the kids to know that it was possible. That you can go through hardships, you can go through a lot of things, you can go through a pandemic, and still be standing at the end of the day. I do believe that, yes, the online way of doing business needs to be incorporated in how we do things. But in my opinion, it can't become the only way how we do things. Let's take advantage of what's going on right now.
It is, I guess, easy to connect with new people online, but just in person, I'm just usually talking to someone I probably wouldn't talk to, you know. And I think the screen doesn't really lend itself to that as well. Mm-hmm. So I think we're losing like a little bit of like organic connection.
As human beings, like, we're made up of all this energy, and that's just a real thing. Like, we feel energy when we're with people. I also think a lot about people who are not choosing to engage digitally and how isolated that they might be, because we just don't know what everybody's up to. You know what I mean? Yeah. And this has been a really interesting adjustment for a lot of people. And, you know, a lot of folks are already coming from situations where they were isolated at some point in their lives, or like estranged from family members, or like have had hard times building friendships. And so, you know, these physical spaces are like sacred in a way, because, you know, a lot of us have never had that type of experience. Like, that's a privilege to be able to engage in that way and feel like you're surrounded by people that you're comfortable being around. So, you know, and there are people who like work in environments that don't reflect what these spaces look like, and that was their outlet. Or, you know, a lot of our elders who would come through, because we like to make sure that our events are like as intergenerational as possible, who aren't engaging as much digitally. I remember I invited one of our elders to the Zoom party, and she was just totally confused. Like, unmuted, yelling. It was just, it was crazy. And I was texting her. She's like, I don't understand how to connect with anyone. And I was like, this is the saddest. And so I was like trying to get her to chat, and she was just like, I don't know. So she just like posted up on the computer and was just kind of looking at everybody. But, you know, it's bizarre. It's just, you know, we hear like generations before us joke about how we're like all caught up in our phones and on our screens. And now I'm like, I see what they're saying. Like, there is value to being together. We're just now starting to ideate about what it'll look like to phase into creating space as we phase into our, you know, new versions of life. In this point, we're literally like ready to adapt and do what we can with what we have, because that's literally how we were created, by doing what we can with what we have and making dope shit happen. You know, we're always resilient and figuring out ways to find joy literally in every situation.
Now more than ever, we're starting to see that we need that physical And I can't wait to finally be back on a dance floor, though I know things are going to be different for a really long time and it's not going to happen anytime soon. There's a difference between online interactions versus the face-to-face, actually seeing people, being able to give a hug or hold hands or even like give a high five.
Club culture is what moves us, like actually, and that's where the most exciting things happen, the most exciting creative energy in that. And like without it, where's the mainstream gonna pull from? You know, like
gathering together, it's still political. It's still a political act to do that. Even in 2020, it's still an incredibly political act to be able to be in a space with folks that are sort of taught or told that they don't belong or that there's something wrong with them. So the fact that you can be in a space with other folks that come from your community is incredibly impactful and empowering, and I think it's something that we can take for granted. So I think losing it, albeit temporarily, has reminded me, I can only speak for myself, that I need this community. I need to be around this community. I can't wait to see everybody again.